In 1972, a divorced, sharp-tongued, 47-year-old woman appeared on American television and did something almost no sitcom character had ever done before. She chose to have an abortion, months before it was even legal nationwide. CBS affiliates pulled the episode off air. Sponsors panicked. Newspapers couldn't stop talking about it. And still, 65 million people watched anyway. The woman behind that storm, Bea Arthur, wasn't supposed to be a star at all. Hollywood had spent decades telling her she was too tall, too loud, and too unconventional to ever lead a show. So how did an actress rejected by the industry's beauty standards end up creating not one, but two of the most groundbreaking characters in television history? And what did 3 decades of being overlooked teach her about waiting for the right moment? Stick around. This is the real story of Bea Arthur. If you love raw, honest stories about the legends behind the screen, hit like before we begin. Born Bernice Frankel on May 13, 1922, in Brooklyn, New York, Bea Arthur's journey to television legend was anything but easy. Raised in the small town of Cambridge, Maryland, as part of one of the area's only Jewish families, she often felt like an outsider from an early age. Standing much taller than her classmates, she was frequently cast in male roles during school plays, unknowingly laying the foundation for the commanding stage presence that would later define her career. Health problems during her teenage years led her to attend boarding school, where she developed greater confidence and discipline. After graduating, she joined the United States Marine Corps Women's Reserve during World War II, serving as one of the first generations of women to wear the Marine uniform. Following her military service, Arthur trained as a medical laboratory technician, but it didn't take long for her to realize that science wasn't where her passion truly lay. Choosing an uncertain future in acting, she spent nearly 2 decades performing in off-Broadway productions, regional theaters, and small stage roles, enduring years of financial struggle and professional obscurity while waiting for the opportunity that many believed would never come. That breakthrough finally arrived in 1964, when her performance in the Broadway production of Fiddler on the Roof caught the attention of critics and theater audiences alike. Just 2 years later, she achieved even greater success with *Mame, earning the prestigious Tony Award for Best Featured Actress in a Musical and forming a lifelong friendship with co-star Angela Lansbury. Even as her career began to flourish, Arthur remained the primary financial provider for her family while her husband, acclaimed director Gene Saks, struggled with recurring health problems, balancing professional triumph with personal responsibility. Her biggest television breakthrough came in the early 1970s when legendary producer Norman Lear cast her as Maude Finley on CBS's groundbreaking sitcom All in the Family. The audience response was so overwhelming that CBS quickly gave the outspoken, fearless character her own spin-off series, Maude. The show shattered television conventions by fearlessly tackling controversial issues such as the Vietnam War, alcoholism, menopause, women's rights, and abortion, subjects that few sitcoms had ever dared to address. While the series generated enormous public backlash and sparked national debate, it also became one of the highest-rated programs on television and earned Arthur the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series in 1977. At the peak of its popularity, she surprised both fans and executives by choosing to end the show in 1978 on her own terms rather than allowing its quality to decline. Nearly a decade later, Arthur achieved television immortality once again when writers created the role of Dorothy Zbornak specifically with her in mind for *The Golden Girls. Premiering in 1985, the sitcom became an instant cultural phenomenon, redefining how older women were portrayed on American television through humor, intelligence, and honesty. Arthur's sharp wit and unforgettable chemistry with her co-stars helped the series run for 7 highly successful seasons while earning her a second Emmy Award. Consistent with her lifelong philosophy of leaving while still at the top, she once again chose to walk away in 1992, bringing an end to one of television's most beloved comedies despite its continued success. Away from the spotlight, Bea Arthur carefully protected her private life. She experienced 2 marriages, became the mother of 2 adopted sons, and rarely discussed her family publicly. In later interviews, however, she admitted that her greatest personal regret was not spending enough time with her children while pursuing the demanding career she had worked so hard to build. During her final years, Arthur intentionally slowed her pace, accepting only projects that genuinely interested her while quietly battling lung cancer away from public attention. She passed away in 2009 at the age of 86, leaving behind not only an extraordinary television legacy, but also a lasting humanitarian impact. In one of her final acts of generosity, she left $300,000 to support homeless LGBTQ+ youth, a gift that eventually helped establish the Bea Arthur residence in New York City, which opened in 2017. Today, her legacy extends far beyond her unforgettable performances, remembered not only as one of television's greatest actresses, but also as a woman whose compassion, courage, and determination changed countless lives both on and off the screen. There were no scandals that dragged on for years, no bitter public feuds, no desperate attempts to defend herself in front of the cameras. What remained, instead, was the story of a woman who spent nearly 30 years working quietly in the shadows before America ever learned her name, and who then, twice, walked away from hit television shows at the very height of their success, simply because she believed the story had reached its natural end. Her path was never smooth. There were long years waiting in the wings of Broadway. There were moments she had to choose between her career and her family, and there were feelings she only admitted to near the end of her life. Regrets that quietly weighed on her, even after everything she had built. And yet, looking back, one thread runs through the entire story. Bea Arthur always moved forward on her own terms. She never tried to become the star Hollywood wanted her to be. She never reshaped herself to fit an industry that once told her she didn't belong. Today, Maude still shocks new viewers with how far ahead of its time it truly was. Dorothy's Bornak still makes audiences laugh every single day, her deadpan delivery as sharp now as it was decades ago. And in a quiet corner of New York, the Bea Arthur residence still opens its doors to young people who have nowhere left to go. Each of these, the show, the character, the home, holds onto a different piece of who she was, the artist, the woman, and the human being who never stopped caring about the people the world had forgotten. Maybe that's why, so many years after the lights went down for the last time, her name is still spoken with a very particular kind of respect. Not only because of the roles that helped rewrite the history of American television, but because she proved that age, appearance, and other people's expectations never had to define anyone's limits. And maybe every time Dorothy smiles or Maude fires off one of her unforgettable lines, that's still Bea Arthur, finding her way back to us, one generation at a time.